Now what I'd like to do is outline the library research guide for the community issue essay. So just like the library guide for the career essay, you have all of these different sections or groupings of types of sources. So the first grouping is community sources, and this is a great place to find a topic. So if you're looking for an issue to cover for your paper, you might use one of these 8 sources to help you do that. So the first two, city manager, city engineer, and the city website or Facebook page, are places where you can find information about that particular city. So the city manager, the city engineer, they cover everything that happens in that city. So sometimes they're even more informed than the mayor. So you might want to contact, you can find out who they are by going to the city website, and they should list all the city officials' contact information, name and contact information. So you might want to go and check out the city manager, city engineer. I've actually had students in past semesters contact one of these city officials, and they were invited to their offices, and one even handed my students a notebook of information, of research information on an issue that they were working on in the city. So they can be really helpful. Sometimes not so much. It really just depends on your city. It depends on who the manager or engineer is at that time. But anything relating to like traffic and city planning, like new stores or businesses, city engineer is going to take care of, traffic, roads, things like that. And then city manager is going to be responsible for any kind of like community events or organizations that go on in the city. So you might try contacting either one of those. You also have a local news cable channel, and that can be helpful because they might televise city council meetings. So these city council meetings you can access by either attending a city council meeting, or you can view one of the past meetings. Oftentimes, like I said, they broadcast them on the local news cable channel. Or you can access the recorded minutes of past meetings. That's what minutes are. They're notes of past meetings. So by law, they have to be public. So oftentimes they are published on the city website. I want to skip over number 5, talk about some others. Local police station. Sometimes if you contact your local police station and just let them know that you are a student and you're looking for an issue to write about, and see if they can make recommendations or suggestions for some of the issues that they are working on or that they deal with. They're also great for interviews once you do have an issue. And local newspapers. You can find out what the local newspaper is by going to the city website, and then you can contact that paper and ask to talk to an editor or a journalist and ask them what they've been covering, what stories are going on that they've been covering in the city. The Hornet, that is our local paper and campus paper. And if you go under campus incidences, under news, you can find out what's going on our campus, some of the issues there. Local, you can find any featured news stories from the city of Fullerton, maybe some of the surrounding neighborhoods. And then you can sign up for a newsletter, and then you can go to the About Us page and find out who the staff of reporters are and contact them directly. Just like you would reach out to a local newspaper journalist, you can do the same thing for the Hornet. The one that I jumped over was the Community Service Agency's Office of Special Programs in room 225. That's on our campus. That's upstairs from the cafeteria. And you can find an organization that works with the issue that you're writing about. And if you perform community service, it's not volunteering, it's service, then you can count that as 10 points extra credit. So, and this is how you would arrange it. It's right there on the library guide of how you would set up that service learning. Because again, it's service that you're using to learn. So we call it service learning. So again, we have databases on this library research guide that covers different databases. You might recognize EBSCOhost, but there's a few new ones. The other ones are new, actually. The first one, which I put first because it is super helpful if you can find one, it's called the CQ Researcher. It's a Congressional Quarterly Researcher. And basically, it's a pamphlet that every week addresses a new topic or subject. And oftentimes there's social issues. So even though it wouldn't have one on your particular local issue, but it might have your issue that you're covering on a national level. And then you can get like background and history and statistics of the larger context. EBSCOhost again has newspapers and magazines, so you can find that information there. Gale Opposing Viewpoints. What's interesting about this source is that what it does is it takes issues and it shows you that issue from two different viewpoints. So that's why it says opposing viewpoints. So it'll show you a pro and con. And again, this is where you can get some good context information for your issue. And then LexisNexis is basically a news source. It's where newspapers and broadcast news get their stories, is LexisNexis academic. So sometimes it's a good place to get some more contextual information about the issue that you're talking about. Then we have the catalog. Don't forget that DVDs and videos in our DVD library and film library can be really helpful, because that's a lot of information in a pretty easy format to absorb and to get the information from. The first thing I wanted to point out for the catalog, our Fullerton College library catalog, is the subject encyclopedias. And those are encyclopedias that are grouped by subjects. So instead of like just a general encyclopedia, like World Encyclopedia or something, the subject encyclopedias, they organize and group according to subject and discipline. So they have law ones, they have medical encyclopedias, they have different ones for society and social justice or social issues. They have literature, so subject encyclopedias. And when you search for them, just whatever your issue is, you want to type that in plus the word encyclopedia. So next on the list for the catalog is books. Of course, books are all the standard, just like print articles are. You can go, let's go back to books. Books, they're going to be out of date the minute they are printed, because it takes 2 to 3 years to print a book. But that's why, you can get some good contextual information here, because it is older. You're not going to find your recent issue, but you might find context or this particular issue on a larger scale, and find a history and background information, some statistics, things like that. The last one in the catalog are print articles. Now, part of your library scavenger hunt was to be able to ask you to be able to locate current publications. So current newspapers, current magazines, sometimes those are local magazines. So print articles, that's where you're going to look. And again, because it's timely and it's happening now, just like the issue that you are writing about. So when you're making arrangement for service learning, if you want to attend, like maybe there's a community organization that addresses this issue that you're writing about, like Friends of Fox Theater or Coyote Hills. They have a number of different community organizations. And if you would like to work with them, if you'd like to serve at one of those agencies to inform your paper, so to get information, to collect data and other information, maybe people to contact and interviews and things like that. It's a really great way to get, it's really great source of information. So of course, tell them you're a student at Fullerton College. Tell them that this service is part of your research for a class assignment. It's not volunteer work. Your work must be interactive and must provide you an opportunity to gain information for your essay. So that in case they say, oh yeah, could you set up these tables? Well, that's not going to really inform me, but maybe distributing pamphlets would, or maybe gathering notes for a presentation, or typing up those notes, or attending a community open house or something. You can share with them a copy of the assignment. It's in the notes packet. Ask them if they have liability insurance. Every legitimate nonprofit has liability insurance. They will need to fill out forms. This is a must. It's up to you if you decide to serve at an agency that does not have liability insurance, but I can tell you, I created our service learning program on our campus, and I worked with hundreds of agencies. And I think there were only 2 that did not have liability insurance, and we just didn't work with them because liability insurance covers you in case you have an accident while you are performing your service. So you really want to make sure they have that. Ask for the name of the supervisor who coordinates volunteers. They'll know all this stuff, and encourage them to contact me with any questions or concerns about this assignment or what kind of service I think that you should be doing that would be helpful to this paper. So again, this is a really great source of information for finding some resources and information about your issue, especially starting with this first section. It's a great place to find an issue to write about.